So the art of Pot-et-Fleur. And Teresa is my resident French speaker. I don't speak French. I grew up on a farm in New Jersey and I speak a little Spanish. But Teresa, how would you say Pot-et-Fleur properly?
You say Pot-et-Fleur.
Yeah, I can't do that. So, so the reason I chose this is I love I love history. I love words, and I actually had a client who's British who asked me to make Pot-et-Fleurs for seasonal arrangements at the holidays, and so I did a deep dive on what is this style, and that's how that originated. So it quite literally translates into pot and flower, which sounds better in French, doesn't it? Oh, there's my music. It's French circus music. Pot-et-Fleur, it was influenced by France, and we're going to get into it's a botanical decor style that is steeped in a lot of history. And it was made popular in the Victorian era, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But by definition of the garden clubs in the United States, it is a living arrangement. It has to have 2 plants at a minimum with the roots, and it's cut flowers and foliage. And we'll go into why I think it's interesting in a minute. So it all started with King Louis the 14th in France, and everything was over the top, including the tablescapes and the, I have a little tiny one here, but in King Louis, this is a Fenton glass Ypern. How do I say that in French?
Say that again.
Ypern.
Yeah, close.
Ypern. Okay, and Ypern, because I'm a nerd, means to save. So they originally started out, and I have a slide to show you, they were very elaborate, silver and gold, almost like a candelabra with serving dishes for a centerpiece. And they were used for nuts and fruit and sweetmeats and things like that, and sauces. And so here we have one made in Ohio, a much smaller scale, and I'll let people take a look at that. So we have King Louis to thank, and Teresa, merci. So you can see on the left screen, the left slide or picture, those are traditional Yperns, and you can go on eBay and they run like $60,000 to $100,000. So that's why I have my little Fenton glass one here. And then the picture on the right is actually from the set of Downton Abbey. So it kind of morphed, you know, the English have always been fascinated with the French, you know, also dueling, but they also borrowed a lot of the style. So they started adding fruit and not just food, and we go then to the reign of Queen Victoria. Now, this all floral decor ties in with geopolitics. So there was a lot of botanical exploration during the Victorian era. Some might call it stealing from tropical regions and countries, but they collected specimens like orchids, bromeliads, and they loved ferns, loved ferns. And that also started with the rise of glass houses or greenhouses and conservatories. This is all about, you know, today you're going to be a little French, a little British, and a little royal, because this was all for the aristocracy. It was so elaborate during the Victorian times that they actually cut holes in their tables to accommodate these large ferns, and then they would have a fern in the center, and they went from the silver and the gilded to colored glass. And actually in Snohomish, if you go antiquing in our little Snohomish, Washington, you can find glass of ferns and cranberry glass that are pretty tall, like 2 feet tall, with flies collecting in these horns, right? But they range anywhere from like $2,500 to $3,000 for the Victorian ones that were made in Italy. So there was a big fascination with plants, and then during the industrial age, you know, with heating and electricity, the common people were able to have houseplants, tropical houseplants in their homes. So it still was popular, but it wasn't just for the royals. And then what happened, you know, we had some world wars, and we have 2 very influential British gardeners and floral arrangers, Gertrude Jekyll and Constance Spry, and they said, oh my gosh, these elaborate Yperns and ferns where you couldn't see across the table were so gauche that they fell out of favor. And it wasn't until 1960 that the term Pot-et-Fleur was coined. And so, you know, during the Victorian times and in France, they weren't saying like, oh, let's, you know, somebody could, you make me a Pot-et-Fleur, you know. It was just this Epergne, larger than that. So that's a little bit of the history. So we go from the Epergne, and then they used to put their house plants in a cache pot. Looks like cache pot to me, but it's cache pot. And that was just a sleeve without drainage for whatever plant they had, tropical plant. So you can see we went from the Epergne to the cache pot to today's version is Pot-et-Fleur. There are different styles now. You don't have to do anything elaborate. You can just combine, like that was a seasonal one for the holidays with cyclamen and amaryllis. That's another topic. So you can make it rustic. You can make it garden style and light and airy. You can make a statement piece. And those two center pictures are not mine, but the ones on the outer ones are. And then that's a seasonal one that I did with little spruces. So the benefits of a Pot-et-Fleur is it's very sustainable if you use existing plants you already have. And as we all know, if you can keep plants alive, it'll be very long lasting. It gives you variety because you're combining little bottles and jars in your arrangement, so you can swap out your color palette, your floral palette, and then it's flexible if you want to scale up or you want to scale down. Do you want to make it tall? Do you want to make it compact and round? You can. So those are some of the benefits. I'm a sustainable florist, so I like anything where if you do an arrangement, especially for sympathy work, you could say, you know, we have the fresh flowers, but then they can keep the plant as a memory of, you know, their loved one. The ingredients, I am going to make a demo, so I'm kind of going through this is my preamble, but we will get to making a big Pot-et-Fleur. So by definition, it has to have a minimum of 2 plants. If you were going to compete in Pot-et-Fleur, that is an actual thing. If you wanted to enter Pot-et-Fleur competitions, you have to have cut flowers and foliage. You have to have a cache pot. You can use jars, vases, bottles for your flowers. I will note, some people used to use like inkwells, and now they use antique inkwells. So you can use these as a part of your design, so it's decorative. So they don't have to be hidden. You know, you don't have to have them below the level of the thing. So if you had a small one and you wanted to have something really decorative that can be part of your design. So I use clay beads as a mechanic to hold in stuff, or I might use something called agar wool because I can use it in pots later. You can also use soil, but then I would probably slip my little vases in a compostable bag to keep everything clean and separate. And you can also use water picks. I purchased these new compostable ones, but I can't find them anywhere. So I brought the other ones, the plastic ones, which I don't love single-use plastic, but if you reuse them, it's okay. But I prefer not to buy single-use plastic. But my whole thing on sustainability, if you already have something, use it. You know, if it exists in the world, you can reuse. So we come to Pot-et-Fleur today. I have a friend, Tammy, she kept saying, well, it's a dish garden. I said, no, it's not a dish garden. We had a debate. So you can use existing plants and add your cut flowers, and you can DIY it. You can use any container or vessel. It's typically without drainage, but if we are plant people, we know that we like drainage because roots don't like to be sitting in water. And in conclusion, I hope you have learned what a Pot-et-Fleur is. The history, we start in France and we go to the Victorian era, and it fell out of favor. There was a resurgence in the 60s, and there's a resurgence today. And then why would you want to do this? Because it's sustainable and it's fun, and you can make much smaller ones than this. So that is my conclusion. And I do have a materials list. It's hard to see, but I have printed ones. You can just take a picture. So does anybody have any questions?
Flori, are those clay beads like mica or whatever that's called?
No, I got these clay beads from IKEA. I don't know the source of them. You can use rocks. I just like to, or you could use activated charcoal. If you wanted to line your pot with something to kind of absorb some of the water. I like the clay beads because I can kind of nestle my my bottles in there. So I have all of my flowers came from the growers market, except I have some tulips from a local grower in Preston, Issaquah. Whoever was interested about growing tulips. I'm obsessed with her tulips. I drive 45 minutes to get her tulips for my clients in January and February. So I'll show you her tulips there. These are amazing. These are called Spring Break. Spring with a Y, like kind of a Dutch thing. So yeah, I'm going to get started with a demo of making this large scale one. I did want to show you, I'm happy to pass this around, just be careful. These are removable horns. How about if I put it on this table and if you want to come up and take a peek? So I made a smaller one. I love vintage vases. This is a Weller pottery console. Made in Ohio in the 20s, and this has 2 plants in it. It's flat one-sided, so I don't have a lot of floral on this side, but this would be nice on like a sideboard or an entry. And because I have these in vases, this, you know, florists always want to position things, so this should be right here.
If you say so.
Yeah. So I just wanted you to see like a smaller version, which I might just put this over here. Get it out of the way, because I think I'm going to get a little messy. So the plants I have, I was upset. So the plant people in the room, you have to have the same light condition for your plants. You should have the same watering condition, but because I'm going to put them in compostable bags, we're going to skip that part. Because I was obsessed with this Hoya. Look at this. This is a rope Hoya. And I had to have it for this presentation, even though it competes with the other plants as far as conditions of growing. But because ferns kind of typify the Victorian era, I brought this fern, but I'm not going to use it. I just wanted you to kind of like be inspired by the fern. But what we have here, and I just brought this to show you can use a basket, you could use a modern cylinder. You don't have to use a big urn, but this kind of felt like part of today's thing. So the first thing we're going to do is use these compostable bags to pop these in. And I'm going to add my clay beads too. So as we all know, if you do any outdoor planter, you don't want to use the whole thing with soil because it's going to be very heavy and expensive. And so I just popped some brown paper compostable with a compostable bag, and then I'm going to add my clay beads. I wanted to show you, if you're not a florist and you don't know about agar-wool, this is made out of basalt and some binders, and it comes out of Holland, and it can actually be used as a starting medium. They make little plant PD pod things. I like to use it because I can then break it up and use it in a planter. This is an ocean pouch. If you were going to do like a Pot-et-Fleur that didn't have to last very long, like an event work, you could soak one of these, poke holes, soak one of these, and pop it in and use it for your cut flowers. So there's a couple different options here. And now I'm going to add my beads up to, I definitely reuse everything, so there's some soil in here. You're not getting the sanitized version of Flori. You're getting this is the real, real me. So I've just kind of raised it up with my beads that I can sink these in. I just use anything I have on hand, because you're not going to see this. And I'm going to bury these in kind of where I know I want some. And this seems like a lot of work, but you're going to make a smaller one. Okay. And normally I would take these out of the pot, and I will just to show you, but I'm going to do it over this bag. So this is a curly ficus, and I had to have it because of as we all know, florists like movement, and that just had great movement, and it also echoed the curls on the Hoya. So the plant people might say, well, none of these things really go together. So I'm just going to pop this in my little bag, and I have a skewer but I'm going to poke some holes in case you really wanted this to like really live. So you keep it clean, and I think I wanted to have this one come out like this. And then we're going to do this stag. I needed large plants. So this is a stag horn fern. I just thought that was so pretty. I mean, it's strong. So I have protea and lilies. Never a stupid question.
So why do you take them out of the pot?
Because I can mold more stuff in. I can squish that soil, and I mean sometimes I remove some of the soil and maybe wrap it in moss like a little kokedama. You know, it's not the best thing for the plant. If you're really a plant lover, this is not your style. If I'm honest, right? All right, and now we're going to put this. I'm so nervous with this guy. I'm going to leave him in the pot because he's just going to stay in the pot. Because I bought this, and when I was going out to my car, I broke one of these things off. But I trimmed it off, and I have it in water, and I'm going to try to keep it alive. So, the other thing about not having it in the pot and having it in the bag is I can kind of like cinch this a little bit, and I can make this go where I want it to go. Like, we're always manipulating product as florists, so I'm manipulating my plants. So, there we go. And then I'm going to see if I can tuck some more little bottles in. And this is why I like the bags versus the pot. And you have to have a dedicated recipient. Like my client wanted this, and I made her seasonal ones in soil, and I added evergreen branches, and I just clipped them on an angle and told her to keep the soil moist. And I just used soil as my medium. I didn't have any vases in that one, but it was technically a Pot-et-Fleur because I was using cut flowers and foliage. I had ilex branches with berries. So I think I want one more back here. The other thing is you want to consider having enough water source for your flowers. So if you're making this for you, you're in charge, but if you're giving it to if it's a client, they have to go around with a little watering can and make sure they refill. I like them to snip the ends and, you know, refresh the water. They're probably not going to do that with this. So, okay. So now we're going to start to add, does anybody have any questions about that? We're going to start to add some branches in the back because I love branches. This is this beautiful pussy willow. A lot of people don't know what this is. I mean, did anybody know what Pot-et-Fleur was today?
No.
I'm just going to have to extend this. Extend. And, okay, now to the protea. Now, think about the width, the diameter of your stems. These are a little chunky, so I'm not sure if I really would want to use these if I had smaller vases. I have one here. And then I'll probably cut these down. I tend to group things. I don't know what other people do, but I'm a grouper. You know, you kind of want to keep your little line of 1, 2, 3, kind of down like that. And then I might use these big lilies. Whoops. And let's see. And I think I'm going to add one more bottle in here. Yeah. And I want to get some height on there, so I'm going to use the full height of the lilies back there. They like to spin. So flower farmers, do you grow these lilies? I think these are from Peter Court in Oregon. I'm going to say this is a flat one-sided because that's going to be easier for me. And now my branches have rotated, but we'll bring them back in. And let's see, I'm going to use this color. This is, I forget the name, what is this? This is a Aurelia, burnt orange. I just wanted I didn't want to go too pale, so that's why I have these tulips and these. And I'm going to do these low and in the front.
Do you put anything in the water in those, or is this just straight water?
Can I tell you?
Here we go.
All right, I don't know if it's very, very hot, if I have like a 100-degree wedding, I will use floral food. But I always think like, what are flowers like in nature? If they're not in a cold supply shipping area, I just use, and I change it. So that's my shtick. I just think, you know, if I were a flower, what would I want? I don't even know what's in flower food. Most people don't. Okay. And I think I need this. I have to stand back. Anybody ever make an arrangement? You have to look at it.
That's looking great for you.
Well, this. This is acacia. I love acacia, and it's nice to fill kind of the rim here, so I might just pop some of this in to kind of hide some of my mechanics here. And I'm going to put this guy in the back, this Calcinia. I would probably take more time with this than I'm doing right now. I wouldn't make it in 15 minutes.
This is great.
So beautiful.
Oh, great.
It's taking form.
Yes, it's so
We see it. We see the vision.
I'm literally giddy inside.
Let's see. I always care about the back. I'm going to fill it in with moss. And then I have to use these tulips. Well, you know, I love tulips kind of coming out,
Yeah.
so let's see. I think I would like these to kind of, I think here.
Lori, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Have you ever had clients like for wedding work, like this would be amazing? So
Nobody knows what it is, so it's kind of like, you know, they're like, does it cost
I
more if
guess
it's
we
Polish?
have
Who wants more if it's French? I don't know. I haven't. I mean, it's kind of new to me, but I've already presented it to, I'm on this garden club circuit. I don't know why, but they keep asking me back to different garden clubs. So I've already presented this in January, and I'm presenting again in April. So yeah, they seem to like it.
I mean, I'm just thinking like for those of us who have worked with clients that are with events or weddings, like talk about like this is a compromise for budget. It could be reused. They could take the plants home. Guests could take like, what a beautiful concept.
Yeah. Yeah, and Teresa, especially for you, because she's Belle Patel and it's all French.
I love it.
I'm just gonna, I don't usually polka dot stuff, but I'm gonna polka dot a little, because I kind of love the stripe of the lily with this tulip. It's a little red, but it said it opens up differently. You know how tulips fade and change?
Lori, on the plants, how long will they stay moist? That rhubarb, how long will it stay moist?
Well, I would water these, and then I would ask whoever is the recipient to water them. You know, and eventually, just like a seasonal outside container, you could repurpose the plants and put them in a planter so that they live. You know, people are going to get tired of doing, filling the vases. I don't know that this is like, you know, this is a months-long thing. So, yeah. And I think, I did get, my date palm. Sorry, I got so excited at the grower store. I didn't use these hellebore, but I think I'm reaching my And I love fragrance, so I like Ariostamine, if anybody knows what that is. It's just nice. Let's see, I think I needed to put these in because I felt like it would kind of mirror this little job here. And I kind of want these to go down more, but we're going to just kind of call it a day here. I think that's kind of it for me. If I were doing this in my studio, I would take much more time and butts with it, but yeah.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
So Lori, the inevitable question.
Yes. How much does it cost? I knew you were going to ask me that. Okay, well, I'm going to be very frank with you. The Hoya, my wholesale cost for the Hoya was $85. So I would have to double that or 2.5 it. So this is not a, this is for the King Louis.
I love it. It's for King Louis. You know what? I was thinking about the idea of you said it may not be for a client who has zero interest in maintaining, but a restaurant that you were servicing once a week, couldn't you see refreshing it?
Oh, okay, yeah, so if I were gonna actually total this up, it would be like $600, $700, $800, at least. I mean, if they bought the pot. I would 4 the flowers, and I would 2.5 the plants, and the hard goods I two times, so. Yeah, so 85 just for the Hoya. The other plants are probably in the $13 to $20 range, I believe. I could go back and look if anybody wants to know. I could total it all up and tell you like what I used here. So, but you're not throwing away all the greenery. So the greenery that you have, you keep. So you could tell a client, yeah, but for about maybe $350, you get to keep your plants if you can keep them alive. So it's not it's not a sunk cost on the plants. So I do think it has value, which is the sustainable part and the long-lasting part of a Pot-et-Fleur. So thank you for joining me in France and England and the 1960s here today.